The Cleveland Browns are paying a quarterback $230 million, fully guaranteed, and he just posted the worst QBR in NFL history through the first 6 weeks of the 2024 season. This is the same guy who 3 years ago led the entire league in passing yards. The same electric playmaker who delivered one of the most iconic championship moments in college football history. Now he's getting booed by his own fans, and some of them actually cheered when he tore his Achilles. What the hell happened to Deshaun Watson? Going back to Gainesville, Georgia, Watson wasn't just good, he was rewriting the record books. 17,134 total yards, 218 total touchdowns, 13,775 career passing yards. Every single one of these became a new state record in Georgia. This wasn't some system quarterback padding stats against weak competition. This was pure dominance that had every major college program in America drooling. But Watson already knew where he was going. He committed to Clemson as a sophomore in high school and never looked back. He was so eager to get started that he graduated high school a semester early just to join the team ahead of schedule. Started his freshman year as a backup to Cole Stout, but that lasted about as long as milk left out in the sun. After just 3 games of watching Watson tear it up in limited action, 479 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, the coaching staff had seen enough. His first start against North Carolina was like watching a video game on rookie mode. 6 touchdowns, 435 yards, a school record that still stands today. Even with a broken hand and a torn ACL that cut his freshman season short, Watson still managed 1,466 passing yards and 14 touchdowns in limited action. The kid was different. Sophomore year is when Watson went from good to legendary. Clemson rolled through the regular season undefeated, finished as the #1 team in the country, and won their first ACC championship in 11 years. In the national title game against Alabama, Watson put up 478 total yards, the most ever in a championship game at that point. They lost that game, but everyone knew they'd be back. Junior year, Watson got his revenge. Clemson beat Alabama 35-31 for the national championship, their first title since 1981. The game-winning touchdown pass to Hunter Renfrow with 1 second left became one of those moments that gets replayed forever. Watson finished his college career with a 32-3 record, over 10,000 passing yards, and 90 total touchdowns. The only question left was how high he'd go in the draft. Some scouts worried about his arm strength. Others questioned his pocket presence, the same tired concerns that pop up whenever a quarterback doesn't fit the traditional mold. But the Texans had just dumped Brock Osweiler and his $72 million contract on Cleveland, ironically enough. And they needed a franchise quarterback. So with the 12th pick in the 2017 draft, a pick they got from Cleveland in that Osweiler trade, Houston selected Deshaun Watson. Tom Savage won the starting job in training camp, but that experiment crashed and burned faster than you can say quarterback controversy. In the season opener, Savage managed just 62 yards in the first half with the Texans down 19-0. Watson came in, threw his first career touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins, and suddenly Houston had life. By week 2, Watson was the starter. The rookie season that followed was pure electricity. In October alone, Watson threw 16 touchdown passes, a rookie record for a single month. Against the Titans in week 4, he threw for 283 yards and 4 touchdowns, then added a rushing touchdown just because he could. 5 total touchdowns, tying the NFL record for a rookie quarterback in a single game. Then came the Thursday practice in November that changed everything. Non-contact drill, Watson goes down, torn ACL, season over. But even in just 7 games, he'd shown enough. 19 touchdown passes, over 1,600 yards, and most importantly, the Texans were 3-3 with him starting compared to 1-9 without him. Year 2, Watson came back like nothing happened. After starting 0-3 while shaking off the rust, Houston rattled off 9 straight wins. Watson threw for over 4,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, and led the Texans to the AFC South title. In his first playoff game against Buffalo, he delivered one of those moments that separates good quarterbacks from special ones. Over time, 2nd and 6, Watson escaped 2 sacks that should have ended the drive, somehow found Tywan Jones for 34 yards, and set up the game-winning field goal. 2019 was even better. Watson put up 3,852 passing yards, 33 total touchdowns, and won AFC Offensive Player of the Week 3 times. Against Atlanta, he went absolutely nuclear. 426 yards, 5 touchdown passes, perfect passer rating. The Texans won another division title. Watson was becoming everything Houston hoped for and more. But behind the scenes, the organization was falling apart. In January 2020, Jack Easterby, a guy with no football operations experience, somehow ended up in charge of football operations. Then in March, the Texans traded DeAndre Hopkins, Watson's favorite target and arguably the best receiver in football, for basically nothing. The trade made zero football sense. It was pure ego and emotion from Bill O'Brien, who was somehow both the head coach and general manager. Despite the chaos, Houston still needed to lock up their franchise quarterback. September 5th, 2020, Watson signed a 4-year extension worth $177 million with a no-trade clause. At the time, it looked like Houston had secured their future. Instead, it became the beginning of the end. The 2020 season was a disaster wrapped in a catastrophe. O'Brien got fired after starting 0-4. The defense was one of the worst in NFL history, allowing the third most yards per game. Watson threw for 4,823 yards, a franchise record, and led the league in passing. None of it mattered. The Texans finished 4-12. Then came January 2021. Watson officially requested a trade. He was furious about the Hopkins trade, angry that ownership ignored his input on hiring decisions, and fed up with the dysfunction. The Texans hired David Culley as head coach to try to smooth things over. J.J. Watt requested his release. The franchise was imploding, but that was nothing compared to what came next. March the 16th, 2021, the first civil lawsuit was filed against Watson. A massage therapist accused him of sexual assault and inappropriate behavior. Within 3 weeks, 22 different women had filed lawsuits against him. The allegations were horrifying. It came out that Watson had met with 66 different massage therapists in just 17 months. Nike and Beats by Dre immediately suspended their endorsement deals. Watson didn't play a single snap in 2021 while the legal situation played out. 2 different grand juries in Texas declined to indict him on criminal charges in March 2022, but the civil cases were still pending. Most of them, 23 of 24, were eventually settled. The damage to his reputation was catastrophic. Here's where things get absolutely insane. Even with all the legal issues, even with Watson not playing for over a year, multiple teams still wanted him. The Browns won the bidding war, and the price they paid defied all logic. 3 first-round picks, plus additional picks, plus a fully guaranteed $230 million contract. Fully guaranteed? No NFL contract had ever been fully guaranteed at that level before. The structure of the deal raised even more eyebrows. Cleveland set Watson's base salary for 2022 at just $1 million. Why? Because they knew a suspension was coming and wanted to minimize the financial hit. It was transparent, cynical, and it worked exactly as designed. The NFL's investigation resulted in an initial 6-game suspension from disciplinary officer Sue Robinson. She found that Watson had committed sexual assault as defined by league policy and called his behavior predatory. The league appealed for a harsher punishment. They eventually settled on 11 games, a $5 million fine, and mandatory counseling. Watson finally returned to play in December 2022. Across 6 games that season, he completed less than 59% of his passes with 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. 2023 started with hope, but ended with more frustration. Watson's shoulder wasn't right from the beginning. In November, imaging revealed a displaced fracture to the glenoid in his throwing shoulder, season-ending surgery. Watson had played just 6 games for the second straight year. The Browns made the playoffs anyway with Joe Flacco, a quarterback they literally signed off his couch. Flacco played better in 4 games than Watson had in 2 seasons. The contrast was impossible to ignore. 2024 was supposed to be the comeback year. Instead, it became rock bottom. Through 7 starts, the Browns went 1-6 with Watson under center. His QBR was the lowest in the entire NFL. He was missing throws that high school quarterbacks make. The home crowd booed him during introductions. The atmosphere was toxic. Then came October 20th against Cincinnati. Non-contact play, Watson crumples to the ground, ruptured Achilles. Season over again. Some fans actually cheered. That's how bad things had gotten. The franchise quarterback with the fully guaranteed contract getting cheered for an injury by his own fan base. It gets worse. January 2025, during his Achilles rehab, Watson tears the same Achilles again. Another surgery. The entire 2025 season probably gone. The Browns are now paying $230 million guaranteed dollars to a quarterback who might not play meaningful football until 2026. if ever. The contract has become an albatross that's strangling the franchise. Cleveland has restructured it multiple times just to create cap space. They added void years, converted salary to bonuses, did every accounting trick possible. If they cut Watson after 2024, the dead cap hit would have been $172 million. That's not a typo, $172 million. Browns owner Jimmy Haslam finally admitted what everyone already knew in March 2025, calling the Watson trade a swing and miss. That's like calling the Titanic a boating accident. This wasn't just a miss, this was a catastrophic organizational failure that will haunt Cleveland for years. So what actually caused this collapse? Start with the time away from football. Watson missed all of 2021, most of 2022, half of 2023, and most of 2024. Quarterback is all about rhythm and timing. You can't just turn it on and off like a light switch. Every game Watson missed was another step backward, another layer of rust building up. The shoulder injury was devastating in ways people don't fully understand. A displaced glenoid fracture isn't just soreness or inflammation. It's structural damage to the joint that controls everything a quarterback does. Even after surgery, the mechanics are never quite the same. The trust in your arm is gone. You start aiming instead of throwing. Then the Achilles, twice. For a quarterback who made magic with his legs, who could escape pressure and create plays from nothing, losing that mobility changed everything. Watson's genius in Houston came from his ability to extend plays, to make defenders miss, to throw on the run. Take that away, and he becomes ordinary. Actually, worse than ordinary. The mental weight has to be crushing too. Imagine being the most hated athlete in your own city. Imagine knowing that your contract is preventing your team from improving. Imagine trying to perform while millions of people are actively rooting for you to fail. Some players thrive under that pressure. Watson crumbled. The offensive system in Cleveland never really fit either. In Houston, Watson operated from shotgun, ran RPOs, took deep shots off play action. The Browns tried to adapt their offense, but it always felt forced, like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. By the time they figured out what might work, Watson was already hurt again. Let's be real about the elephant in the room too. 22 women filed lawsuits against Watson. The Texans organization settled with 30 women who had claims against them related to enabling Watson's behavior. The league found he violated the personal conduct policy and suspended him 11 games. Whatever you think about the criminal charges not being filed, the pattern of behavior was undeniable. That kind of scandal changes how teammates look at you, how coaches treat you, how fans receive you. Watson in Houston was a 3-time Pro Bowler who played with joy and freedom. Watson in Cleveland has been a broken player in a broken situation. 19 starts in 3 seasons, mediocre stats when he does play, and now coming off a twice-torn Achilles that might end his career as we know it. The Browns are stuck with this contract through at least 2026. They've already restructured it twice, pushing money into void years that will haunt their cap even after Watson is gone. Every quarterback they don't draft, every free agent they can't sign, every roster hole they can't fill, it all traces back to this one catastrophically bad decision. This is what happens when desperation meets delusion. The Browns were so desperate for a franchise quarterback that they ignored all the red flags. They bid against themselves, guaranteed money nobody else would guarantee, and mortgaged their future for a player who hadn't taken a snap in over a year and was facing 22 lawsuits. The Deshaun Watson story is a tragedy on multiple levels. A supremely talented player who lost his way, an organization that bet everything on the wrong horse, a fan base that deserves better after decades of suffering, 22 women whose lives were forever changed. There are no winners here, only different degrees of losing. Maybe Watson comes back from the double Achilles tear. Maybe he finds some shadow of his former self. Maybe the Browns figure out a way to minimize the cap damage. But the Deshaun Watson, who was putting up 5,000-yard seasons and leading comeback victories, that player is gone forever. What's left is a cautionary tale about talent without character, desperation without wisdom, and the price of betting everything on damaged goods. What do you think happened there? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.